That's typically when they're starting to develop some independence from their family, from their parents, and they're looking for answers of who they are and where they belong. Maybe they couldn't find friends. Maybe they were bullied. Maybe they were dealing with challenges that were very difficult to overcome, and there was no relief for that. Well, one way to think that you have relief from that is to blame somebody else for those problems. So it's very easy for somebody who maybe is immature or has a lack of self-esteem or maybe has some self-hatred that they can then project onto somebody else. Hate is like a suit of armor that is both protection for the wearer, but also a weapon.
Although his childhood began happily, Picciolini was bullied in school. He started to rebel, skip school, and use drugs. When he was 14, a well-known white supremacist in his area approached him, telling him to stop using drugs and inviting him to join his movement to save the white race. Picciolini jumped at the opportunity, eventually creating a neo-Nazi punk rock band, propagating hate messages. He got involved in violent incidents and even became the regional leader of a neo-Nazi skinhead group.
So because I had been bullied, when he paid attention to me, it was like the first time that somebody saw me. And it didn't matter to me what he was saying at the time. I didn't even understand what he was saying, to be honest. But it didn't matter to me what he was saying because I saw that he wanted to bring me into this group of friends. And I had never really experienced that before. I was getting this very, very small reward of camaraderie. And I stayed for 8 years. I stayed as a skinhead for 8 years. I eventually became a leader myself, and I replaced the man that recruited me that day. And every day that I went deeper and deeper into that movement, I think it was easy for me to start to believe those things, even though it hadn't been something that I had been raised on, because the rewards I was getting as far as what I thought was respect, what I thought was camaraderie, there were girls suddenly interested in me, there were friends who saw me as strong where nobody had seen me that before, and it was really boosting my ego to be involved in that. But what I was doing as my ego was going up was I was trying to bring everybody else in the world down. And it wasn't until I started to see all the damage that it was causing, not just to the outside world in terms of the music that I was making or the violence that I was a part of, but it was starting to destroy my family, the people I really cared about too. My children, my wife at the time, my parents, and it started to really dawn on me that that was not who I wanted to be. And it was difficult to leave because, one, the outside world didn't want me back. I was a monster, and nobody wanted me to come back. Also, the people that I was a part of didn't want to let me go. I knew too much. And of course, I wasn't honest with them.
Picciolini opened his own record store to sell mostly neo-Nazi punk rock music. But as camouflage, he also carried other genres, which exposed him to a diverse clientele. He gradually started to change.
It was at that store that I had the first opportunity to meet people of color, Jewish people, people who were gay for the first time in my life and have a meaningful interaction with them. But what happened in the course of a year when I had that record store and through those interactions was it gave me the opportunity to see them as human beings. And then they treated me, even though they knew who I was, they treated me with respect, with compassion. And I started to see them as people I respected more than the people I had surrounded myself with for 8 years. I had more in common with them. I laughed more with them. And it was those moments where I got to really get close to the people that I thought I hated and them having compassion for me, even though it wasn't their responsibility, where I started to really abandon the things that I believed. And it wasn't long after that when I closed the record store because I couldn't sell the racist music anymore. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed to do that. And it was really the thing that saved my life because it was that moment when I closed the store that I decided that I was going to leave the movement. Tell me what's been going on.
20 years ago, his experiences led him to a new purpose: saving others like him. He has talked with more than 1,000 extremists and helped about 400 of them stay out of hate groups. His books and speeches have also helped him reach those who might want to seek his help. Although the ideology of those he talks to varies, the key is always to work on their potholes.
Well, I think the most important thing when I work with people who are in extremist movements is I listen. They're so used to people being aggressive against them, rightfully so. I mean, they are preaching ideologies that are harmful, that are violent, that are killing people. But what I do is I listen, not to the ideology. I filter out the noise, and I listen for the potholes. And then I become a pothole fixer. I find people, partners, who can help me be a pothole fixer. People like psychologists or life coaches